This is the 9 o'clock news.
Good evening. My name is Megan Marr here at Economics Nightly News. Today we are going to start off our newscast with a piece on scarcity. Scarcity is one of the most important topics studied in economics because of its relevance to our everyday life. Although some may perceive it as difficult to understand, it is simply the difference between supply and demand. Demand varies inversely with its price, meaning that as the demand goes up, the price goes down, and vice versa. However, supply has a direct relationship with price, meaning that as the supply goes up, the price also goes up, and vice versa. Both of these factors are affected by price, number of buyers or sellers, income or input prices, expectations, price of related goods, technology, and taste. It is vital to create a balance so that the quantity supplied and quantity demanded are at equilibrium. By examining graphs, it is easier to understand what this equilibrium point looks like and how it is affected by changes in the lines of supply and demand. One of the most common places we see the practice of supply and demand is in consumer goods, and more specifically food. We can look at the current situation of peanut butter and see how scarcity is affecting its markets. According to the Wall Street Journal, the recent spell of record-setting heat has caused startling price increases in peanut butter. Companies like Jif, Peter Pan, and Skippy have had to raise their prices from 25 to 30% in order to deal with the increasing demand that is currently happening for a limited supply. The current spot price for a ton of unprocessed peanuts has gone up $450, and a pound of shells is almost up 50% according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Not only is this scorching heat affecting the scarcity of peanut butter, but it is also affecting the quality of peanuts that are being produced. Peanuts that do not meet the standards have to be processed into oil, and while the average percent of high-grade peanut butters is around 60%, it has decreased to 30% because of the climate conditions. Farmers have recognized these horrible conditions and are very dismal, like John Harrell, who states that he has never seen so little moisture hit the ground to get the seed up. In the end, the application of supply and demand can be seen in the world of food because as soon as all these factors hit the market, the prices of peanuts will soar and the consumers will be the ones hurting. Now we're going to go to Matt with a story on Bernie Madoff and profit motive.
Hi, I'm Matt, and I'm going to be talking about Bernie Madoff and his profit motive. Bernie Madoff, a world-famous guy known for his Ponzi scheme that ruined many American lives and huge impact on the stock market. A Ponzi scheme is a fraudulent investment operation that pays returns to its investors from their own money or the money paid by the subsequent investors, rather than from any actual profit earned by the individual or organization running the operations. Aside from the impact on stocks overall, the exposure of fraud on a massive scale is also devastating to people who trusted Madoff with their fortunes in non-profit organizations, such as Yeshiva University, which counted on Madoff's purported secret system to help operate its institutions. Sterling Equities, the investment vehicle of the Wilpon family, which owns the New York Mets baseball team, had $300 million reportedly invested in Ascot. So did some wealthy investors who had money in related hedge funds who were never informed of ties to Ascot. Another private bank executive placed $10 million from a client just 2 weeks away. He knew of another family that had $100 million with Madoff. A woman in California told us that she had lost everything with Madoff in another hedge fund. This is just despicable. Now, time for the interview with Bernie Madoff's wife. Hi, it's Matt, and we're back with Mrs. Madoff. So, Mrs. Madoff, do you feel ashamed of yourself?
Of course I feel ashamed. I could barely walk down the street without people recognizing me.
It's really hard for people to get the concept that you didn't know anything about this Ponzi scheme. Can you explain that to me?
Well, I can't really explain it. I trusted him. Why would I ever think that this was illegal? His reputation was almost legendary. Why would I ever think something sinister was going on?
Now, Miss Madoff, did you ever suspect any behavior of holding a secret or secrecy?
There was nothing that made me suspect anything. As I look back on our lives, though, he was getting more and more short-tempered.
Thank you, Mrs. Madoff. Now back to you, Megan.
We can certainly see how someone who is only motivated by profit can tear apart the lives of their families and people across the world. With only green in his eyes, Bernie Madoff exemplifies this. We now are going to hear a compelling story from Kristen about opportunity cost and conflict with Iran.
Thank you, Megan. Many citizens today are worrying about how tensions with Iran will affect gas prices because in most cases, prospects of war usually increase the prices of oil. As conflicts between the U.S. and Iran escalate, so too have the prices of oil barrels. If prospects of war continue, the price of gas may go up to $5 per gallon. The problems with Iran stem from Iran's nuclear program and the United States' attempts to prevent them from developing nuclear weapons. The larger problem, according to Time magazine, will potentially come if Iran establishes a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, through which 1/6 of the world's oil shipments pass. The U.S. could break the blockade by force, but that would also lead to fighting. The question ultimately is, what is the opportunity cost that will come with the U.S.'s military decisions within the next few weeks? If the U.S. takes actions, fighting could spill over into Saudi Arabia, which could potentially destroy oil fields there, and such supply disruptions could not be made up elsewhere. In addition, fighting could lead to a blockade by Iran, which would lead to high oil prices, which in turn could reduce demand and cause a temporary pendulum swing to below average oil prices. Moreover, war comes at an expensive price. Is the U.S. willing to sacrifice more American lives and tax dollars? However, if the U.S. doesn't take action, there is still a possibility that Iran will continue to create nuclear weapons they could potentially use against the U.S. if conflicts arise. Investors need to pay particular attention to this conflict in the next few weeks, and the U.S. needs to carefully consider their actions and risks and benefits that come with these options. Now back to you, Megan.
Thank you, Kristen, for that interesting piece. Now we're going to go to Stephanie to see how you can balance your budget for the new year.
As the new year begins, New Year's resolutions are on the roll. As some people may wish to lose weight, most people are wishing to gain weight in their pockets. Planning your budget efficiently will help you do so. A budget is a plan for how to use your money. It plans future cash inflows and outflows. Setting financial goals is the best way to start budget planning. There are short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. An article from Investopedia tells us that creating a cash flow statement is also an easy way to help. A cash flow statement is a financial statement that shows how changes in balance sheet accounts and income affects cash and cash equivalent. The statement shows the flow of cash in and cash out of a business. It also helps capture the current operating results and the changes in a balance sheet. However, a cash flow statement does not tell us the profit earned or lost in a particular time period. For a cash flow statement, you need to estimate your income, expenses, and your savings. Cash flow statement illustrates how organized the process is. It separates the ins and the outs, which means the money that is earned and the money that is spent. If you want to start off the new year right and you want to balance your budget, then making a cash flow statement is the way to go. Back to you, Megan.
That's our broadcast from Economics Nightly News. Ta-da!